and it is a transnational transaction with parties in different countries, then there is a international treaty called the Convention of the International Sale of Goods, or the Vienna Convention, which is a piece of contract law legislation adopted by, I don't know the number, 160 countries on the globe. And probably a theme that was mentioned in the previous quarter with Michael Milo. Convention on the International Sale of Goods, the Vienna Convention, was mentioned, forgotten. What is the funny thing of this Vienna Convention? It's sort of step-by-step hardcore law on offer and acceptance and the consequences of not performing. Selling a car but no wheels, well, then you're contractually liable to also deliver and transfer in ownership the wheels, stuff like that. And there are two things that are to be remembered pertaining to that Vienna sale of goods. One is that it's part of the local contract law. So it's not a thing that is sort of floating in the air, but it's just part of Dutch contract law and German contract law. And contract law is about party autonomy. So parties may decide which rules they like and which rules they do not like. And the tragedy of this harmonized contract law is that in 9 out of 10 contracts it says Vienna Convention on the Sale of Goods is excluded. We do this deal with English law or Dutch law or French law, comma, excluding the CISG, the Vienna Contract Law, or words of that meaning. So we have an international community, the United Nations, developing a worldwide tool for harmonized contract law. Nothing exciting in it, you know. It says a contract is offer and acceptance and all the other stuff of the previous course. And what are parties doing on the globe? They say, I don't like it. Let's do it with English contract law, where no one knows what it is, except for the English lawyers. And so that's a funny thing, but why I like it is that it is a beautiful example where all these countries have, in principle, the same rules. So if you are not excluding it, ladies and gentlemen, then you get it. Because the application of the Vienna Convention is, it is applicable to all international sales of goods. Human beings, so the engineers, are not goods, no slavery, so they are excluded. So that's a different thing. So here we talk about, you know, bricks and cars and oil fields and stuff like that. Not oil fields, by the way, because it's movable goods, so stuff you can transport. All right. Well, and then, you know, digging capacity. So these are not machines, but this is the economic activity digging capacity to address the gray zone. Okay, last but not least, the legal merger. Oops, running out of time. And here we have two flavors. Here we have that the company A is received, swallowed up, Jurassic Park, by company B. And all the assets are then also fused with company B. That's one. Two, company A and company B can decide that they're both equally important. So no one wants to be swallowed by the other. And then they create a new legal entity in which they both are fused. And then you get a new legal person. How is this possible? This is possible because the individual jurisdictions, so the law codes, just say that it is possible. Remember, 100 years ago, Samsung or Salomon case law and the other legal rules we discussed last week and the week before. The creation of a legal entity is an invention of lawyers. And if they're able to invent such a thing as, let's create a legal person, then you can, on the next page, invent a thing, let's invent that two legal persons can become one. And they did. Which means that you have to go through technical steps. In the continental jurisdictions in Latin America and China, you have to go to a civil notary. And in the Anglo-American jurisdictions, in Canada and Australia, you have to go to a sort of state representatives who can arrange a fusion of the two articles of incorporation and make a new one. And then the law says somewhere, then the new legal person is the same as the old two. How? Because the law says so.
Do they then have to establish a whole new board?
In those laws, there are all kinds of additional rules. One, the shareholders of the two original companies, by law, are the shareholder of the new, which is all of a sudden a much bigger group. And then, either they say the board is double the size, but most jurisdictions say no, the new group of shareholders in a new general meeting of shareholders should appoint a new one, because you have to arrange, maybe one had a two-tier board and the other had a one-tier board, that cannot fuse. So you have to choose which type of board you want. And so normally you get a new board. And here we have a little hiccup. Then we, apologies. Then, and now it will take too long to revive my battery. So on the workshop lecture, we will finish this story. Let me see. No, I'm lucky. Let's finish with an example of the Air France KLM group. So on the website you can find such a thing. And the question could be, is this then a legal merger or not? And you cannot say based on this drawing. So here we have an operational company called KLM and an operational legal person company called Air France. And most likely there was no holding company on top of these. So no company A and B. So this is a variation where they said, okay, to manage the ownership of the shares, let's create a new company and we transfer the ownership of the shares to that new holding company, and then we own the shares of the new mother. This is also quite often by legal professionals called a merger, although there is no receiving and emerging and disappearing company. So here you see that the legal merger is a word where there is a new legal person on the scene at the end of the process. This is the last slide. Instruction. Read paragraph 7.4 and chapter 8, because that is sort of covering the theory of today. On the workshop lecture we will do a mock exam, so it's on Blackboard already. with questions dealing with the topics until last week, and we will go through the topic of today and answer questions and do a few exercises upcoming Thursday to appreciate the translation of share deals, asset deals, and the mergers, and the overarching process, confidentiality, letter of intent, due diligence, the deal, and how that works out in some live examples. And that ends the class of today. I wish you a nice evening, afternoon, and see you Thursday. Thank you.